The lecture hall on the Zorian academic vessel resonated with the quiet anticipation of enthusiastic learners. They had journeyed across vast light years for this unique exchange and unparalleled chance to investigate the enigmatic beings called humans. Professor Vixer, a prominent figure with glowing skin, touched the illuminated panel at the room's forefront. A holographic list appeared detailing various substances. These, Vixer stated, his voice steady, are categorized as toxins. Most induce significant biological harm. Some are fatal if ingested, while others deteriorate organic matter gradually. The students acknowledged, their clear eyes focused on the data. Some showed signs of unease at specific chemicals like arsenic, ethanol, and capsaicin, while others meticulously recorded notes. Your task, the professor elaborated, is to watch humans in their habitat and record how they interact with these materials. The students exchanged quiet comments, some sharing apprehensive looks. Humans were already known for their somewhat careless biology. The notion of them deliberately encountering toxins seemed illogical. A visit was planned to a human area, specifically a lively marketplace on Earth. The students, concealed in holographic disguises to minimize their visibility, trailed their guide through the bustling paths. The atmosphere was filled with a mix of scents, some appealing, others disturbingly strong. One student, a slender individual named Zal, stopped by a food stall. A human was behind the counter, cooking sizzling items on a heated surface. The aroma was intense, almost burning. Zal consulted his device. The ingredient generously added to the food was identified as capsaicin, a recognized irritant. The human, a man with dark, untamed hair and a worn coat, looked up. "Interested?" he asked, presenting a small red fruit with a shiny surface under the bright lights. "What's this?" Zal inquired, his voice unsure. "A chili pepper," the man replied with a smile. "You consume it." Zal paused. "This has capsaicin. It's dangerous." The man popped one into his mouth, bit down, and chewed, showing little change in expression, except for a slight moistness on his forehead. "Oh yeah," he confirmed. "It's hot, but that's the enjoyable part." Zal stepped back. "You're ingesting a harmful substance for pleasure?" "Essentially," the man said, consuming another. Zal rejoined his group. "They're eating known toxins for enjoyment." Another student, VN, had paused at a nearby stall. A human woman was mixing a steaming pot, its vapor dense and nearly overwhelming. The students analyzed the contents. Ethanol. "You consume this?" VN questioned, shocked. The woman chuckled. "It's mulled wine," she explained, pouring some into a cup. "It provides warmth." "This is a neurotoxin." VN's limbs stiffened. "It impairs cognitive abilities." The woman raised an eyebrow, then sipped slowly. "Only with excessive intake." The students looked at each other, puzzled. The list of toxic items seemed less daunting, not because humans avoided them, but because they appeared to ingest them frequently. A sudden noise drew their focus. A human retrieved something from a bag, a dark, elongated item with a distinct smell. Vixer's eyes expanded. "Is that fermented fish?" the human confirmed proudly. "Strom." Zal's device emitted an alert. "Contains hydrogen sulfide, toxic." The human laughed. "Yes, it smells, but once you get past that, it's decent." One student almost fainted. How are they still functioning? Vixer, for the first time in his extensive academic tenure, was speechless. VN hadn't recuperated. The excursion had concluded, but the unsettling experiences persisted. The casual way humans ingested harmful substances contradicted every biological understanding the Zorians held. It wasn't merely careless, it was baffling. Back on the academic ship, the students assembled in the observation area, analyzing their data. The screen showed footage from the market with a frozen image of the human consuming the chili pepper. Zal indicated it. His physical reaction was clear: increased perspiration, faster breathing, yet he persisted. VN's limbs curled. They deliberately caused themselves harm. What evolutionary benefit is there? They seem to find pleasure in it, Zuri noted. The one consuming ethanol even called it warming. Professor Vixer remained quiet, his skin's glow fading slightly. We need to confirm if this is an isolated incident or a common behavior. A strategy emerged. Direct experimentation, conducted under secure, controlled settings, was necessary. The Zorians initiated a formal diplomatic meeting, inviting a human group onto their ship. The humans agreed with surprising eagerness. Days later, the delegation arrived. 3 humans, appearing ordinary by their species standards, entered the chamber. The leader, Captain Reyes, examined the room with clear interest. Beside her were a man with a noticeable scar, on his forearm and another holding a warm cup of a substance identified as caffeine, a stimulant. Vixer addressed them directly. We're researching human biological endurance. Your kind exhibits an unusual interaction with harmful substances. Reyes exchanged a look with her companions. That sounds accurate. Vian hesitated, then said, We aim to comprehend your thresholds. Would you participate in a demonstration? The humans appeared overly enthusiastic. A regulated setting was arranged. The Zorians set up a sequence of test materials, each marked as hazardous by their medical standards. The humans sat before them, calm. The initial test involved concentrated capsaicin, much stronger than the market samples. The scarred man, introducing himself as Davis, submerged a piece of plain food into the intensely spicy liquid and chewed thoughtfully. Shortly after, his face reddened, his breathing accelerated, yet he grinned. That's potent. Vian's limbs twitched. You're in significant pain. Davis exhaled sharply. Yes, but it's a pleasant burn. The Zorians shared apprehensive looks. The subsequent test involved ethanol in escalating doses. Reyes tasted the provided sample, nodded, and requested a more robust version. This is rather weak, she remarked. The Zorians adjusted, offering a stronger variant. Reyes took another sip, exhaled, and relaxed with a content look. Vian checked the instruments. Your cognitive abilities should be diminishing. Reyes laughed. Patience. The caffeine test followed. The man with the cup, Lieutenant Harris, was already drinking it casually. When informed of the test, he simply raised his cup. Already on it. The Zorians were perplexed. Further tests continued. Capsaicin levels reached points that should cause extreme discomfort. Davis merely requested water. Ethanol concentrations rose until even Reyes acknowledged feeling it, though her motor skills remained surprisingly unaffected. Caffeine doses surpassed what should be biologically safe. Harris yawned and inquired if they had anything more potent. The Zorians met in private. They process toxins with remarkable speed, Zuri stated. They actively pursue the sensation, Vian added. They willingly tolerate discomfort. Vixer was quiet, then gestured towards the humans who were conversing casually. We need to understand the reason. The humans were asked to clarify. Reyes leaned back, pondering. Well, there are several factors. Some are cultural, some are simply for enjoyment. Enjoyment? Zal repeated the term slowly, as if unfamiliar. Davis chuckled. Yes, testing limits, exploring how far one can go. Vian struggled to grasp it. But these materials cause damage. Harris shrugged. Only with overindulgence. Reyes nodded. It's about equilibrium. We're aware of the dangers, but we control them, and sometimes a bit of discomfort enhances the experience. The Zorians evaluated this. The idea was completely foreign, yet the proof was undeniable. Vixer finally spoke. Your kind willingly interacts with dangerous substances, tolerates discomfort, and views it as amusement. Reyes smirked. Essentially. The Zorians were speechless. The Zorians, despite their extensive scientific understanding, lacked a framework for what they had observed. The sheer audacity of it all. The humans sat comfortably, entirely unperturbed, as if they hadn't just shown an improbable level of biological defiance. Vixer's bioluminescence flickered unevenly as he thought. The students remained quiet, their eyes shifting between their professor and the humans, awaiting a resolution. We must conduct more analysis, Vixer finally declared. Your physical makeup contradicts all established principles of organic life. Reyes stretched. Certainly, what's your plan? The human's composure unsettled the Zorians more than anything. They should be guarded, apprehensive, at least somewhat hesitant. Instead, they leaned in with curiosity as if they were the ones managing the study. Vixer indicated the nearby lab area. We need to scrutinize your physiological reactions in controlled settings, specifically your healing capabilities. Davis exhaled sharply, touching his stomach. That's likely wise. That chili is already making its presence known. The students recoiled collectively. The lab was promptly set up. The humans were positioned in individual diagnostic units, encircled by scanning tools capable of monitoring everything from brain activity to metabolic processes. The procedure commenced instantly. The initial unusual finding appeared within minutes. VN adjusted the scanner. Their circulatory systems are quite adaptable. Harris, still resting in the unit, raised an eyebrow. Is that problematic? Zal paused. Your heartbeat varies considerably. It should suggest distress. Harris shrugged. It depends on prior activity. Caffeine probably elevated mine. The students exchanged glances. That was another issue. The stimulant had been consumed casually, yet Harris's body adapted as if it were routine. Reyes tapped the side of her unit. We've learned to adapt. If we strain our bodies, they adjust. Exercise, nutrition, even changes in environment. Our systems modify over time. Vixer's bioluminescence dimmed. You're suggesting that consistent exposure to harmful substances enhances your resistance? Davis stretched his arms behind his head. Generally, yes. Consider alcohol. If you consume it regularly, your body handles it differently than if you abstain. VN's limbs curled. You intentionally subject yourself to toxins to boost resistance? Reyes smiled. We term it developing tolerance. The ensuing silence was significant. The scans persisted. The human's digestive systems exhibited an extraordinary resilience. Capsaicin, which should induce severe discomfort, merely stimulated pain receptors momentarily before being processed efficiently. Ethanol, despite its neurotoxic nature, was metabolized at different speeds, with Reyes' system eliminating it more rapidly than anticipated. Even caffeine, a stimulant that should cause anomalies, appeared to integrate effortlessly into Harris's physiology. Hours went by, the humans remaining unaffected. Eventually, Vixer addressed the ultimate, most puzzling observation. Your bodies incur harm, yet you show no concern. Reyes looked at Davis, whose scarred forearm rested against the unit's side. We recover. Vixer's eyes widened slightly. Clarify. Davis raised his arm. This was severely burned years ago. Skin regrew, not flawlessly, but adequately. Zal's limbs tensed. Your bodies regenerate? Not instantaneously, Davis clarified, but yes. Cuts mend, bones fuse, burns heal gradually. VN's eyes flashed. Your survival chances must be remarkable. Reyes exhaled. It depends. We undertake numerous risks. Some fail, but overall we're resilient. Vixer examined them intently. You willingly face dangers, adapt to them, and recuperate from harm with impressive effectiveness. Harris smirked. Essentially. The Zorians were again speechless. The Zorians had prepared for a regulated examination, but what transpired next exceeded even their most imaginative theories. The humans had shown endurance, adaptability, and a strange willingness to undergo discomfort. But no one foresaw what would occur when that endurance was pushed beyond casual levels. The initial indication of an issue arose 6 hours later. Davis, who had ingested the most concentrated capsaicin, shifted uneasily. He tapped his fingers on the unit's armrest, his breathing consistent but noticeably deeper. Vixer watched him closely. Are you in distress? Davis exhaled through his nose. Nothing unmanageable. Just my stomach expressing its displeasure. Zori adjusted the scanner. Your internal temperature is elevated. There's increased acid production. Davis chuckled dryly. Yeah, that's expected. Spicy food has that effect. VN's limbs twitched. You were aware this would occur? Naturally, Davis confirmed. It doesn't deter anyone. The students exchanged looks, their eyes flickering with astonishment. The human had deliberately ingested a substance that was now actively disturbing his internal balance, yet he regarded it as a normal inconvenience rather than a critical medical concern. The subsequent unusual finding emerged with Reyes. The ethanol had circulated through her system, but the scanners revealed something the Zorians hadn't foreseen. Her liver was handling the compound at an expedited rate, decomposing it with notable efficiency. Vixer indicated the data. Your metabolic function is counteracting the toxin. Your body is actively neutralizing it. Reyes nodded. Yes, that's the liver's role, to eliminate what shouldn't be present. VN examined the information. But the process isn't consistent. Reyes stretched. It differs among individuals. Some can tolerate more than others. Zal's limbs tensed. Your kind possesses an internal purification system that adapts dynamically? Generally, Reyes confirmed. It's not flawless, but it's effective. Vixer remained quiet, contemplating. The humans had a built-in detoxification mechanism, one that adjusted to exposure. It was no surprise they could consume dangerous substances with such regularity. Then Harris delivered the final surprise. The caffeine had been in his system for hours, yet instead of showing signs of distress, he appeared perfectly aware. If anything, he seemed more relaxed than at the start. Zuri adjusted the scanner. You should be exhibiting irregularities in neural function. Harris glanced at him. Such as? Erratic impulses, overstimulation, potential heart stress. Harris chuckled. No, this is typical for me. If anything, I'd be less functional without it. VN's limbs curled. You depend on the stimulant to operate? Harris nodded. Some individuals do, not a complete reliance, but it aids. The students recoiled. This wasn't merely tolerance. This was assimilation. The humans didn't just withstand toxins. Their bodies adapted to them, sometimes even depended on them. Then Davis groaned. Everyone turned. He pressed a hand to his stomach, his jaw clenched. Vixer stepped closer. Your condition is worsening. Davis shook his head. No, I just need to move around. The Zorians were shocked. Move around? Zal repeated. You're experiencing digestive discomfort. And it'll subside, Davis said, rising. Worst case, I endure some discomfort. It's not significant. VN's eyes widened. You're knowingly tolerating internal harm? Davis shrugged. I've experienced more severe. The room was quiet. The humans had shown endurance, but this was different. They didn't just endure hazards. They embraced suffering as a normal aspect of life. Vixer turned to Reyes. How frequently does your kind encounter self-imposed distress? Reyes sighed. More frequently than ideal, but it's manageable. Zal's limbs twitched. By what measure? Reyes smiled slightly. By our measure. Vixer had dedicated his career to examining biological unusual occurrences across the galaxy, but nothing had readied him for humans. Their bodies defied understanding, their decisions seemed illogical, and their tolerance for suffering was unsettling. The information was comprehensive, the scans definitive, but none of it addressed the fundamental query. Why? Davis reclined in his chair, arms folded, his earlier discomfort seemingly forgotten. Reyes appeared entertained by the whole situation, while Harris casually tapped his fingers on his cup, awaiting the next event. They had been exposed to toxins, their bodies had responded, and now they sat there as if nothing unusual had transpired. Vixer finally did something unprecedented. He relinquished the scientific approach. You've shown remarkable adaptability, he stated, but that doesn't clarify your readiness to tolerate what should be preventable pain. Is there no instinct for self-protection? Reyes tilted her head slightly. Naturally, we possess self-preservation. We simply don't let it dominate our existence. Zal's eyes flickered. That's inconsistent. Davis chuckled. Not really. We avoid things that will cause immediate death, certainly, but discomfort? That's simply a component of life. VN looked between them, still struggling to understand. You deliberately ingest dangerous substances. You permit your bodies to tolerate distress for amusement. You recuperate from injuries that would incapacitate most beings, and now you assert that suffering is typical? Harris placed his cup down. Consider this. Pain is an indicator. It signals something is amiss. But pain itself isn't always the issue. Occasionally, it's merely part of the progression. Zal's limbs twitched. Explain further. Reyes gestured towards Davis. He consumed the chili, correct? It caused pain, his body objected, but he recognized it wasn't genuine peril. He tolerated it because the overall experience was pleasurable. Davis grinned. And because I wished to determine my capacity. VN recoiled slightly. You explore your own boundaries? Harris nodded. Constantly. It's how we advance. Vixer's bioluminescence pulsed faintly. You're implying that deliberate exposure to difficulty strengthens you? Reyes shrugged. In a manner, yes. It develops tolerance, educates us on our capabilities. Vixer turned to Zal and VN. We presumed their physical makeup was the unusual aspect. It's their mindset. The students absorbed this revelation quietly. Reyes leaned forward. Have you encountered the concept of inoculations? Vixer hesitated. Clarify? We introduce minimal quantities of harmful elements into our bodies, Reyes explained. Insufficient to cause death, merely enough to educate our immune systems to resist. Consequently, when the actual threat emerges, we're prepared. VN's limbs curled. You induce illness to avert more severe illness? Harris nodded. Precisely. Zuri was quiet, then said, You don't merely tolerate suffering, you utilize it. Davis grinned. Now you comprehend. Vixer exhaled slowly. Your kind isn't careless, you're vigilant. Reyes smiled. We prefer to be equipped for any situation. VN shook his head. And yet, despite your endurance, you still encounter physical repercussions. Davis patted his stomach. Oh, certainly, I'll experience the consequences of that chili later, but it's worthwhile. Zuri hesitated. You embrace suffering for the sake of the experience? Reyes nodded. It's a component of development. We challenge ourselves, push our limits. We fall, but we rise stronger. Vixer gazed at them. This is the reason your kind endures? Reyes smiled. Precisely. The Zorians had no further inquiries.